welcome to the Writing Corner. Today we're going to be talking about slow starts to books. So yes, I've decided to name this segment of my channel the Writing Corner. This is the videos where I talk about writing topics and things that have kind of come up and are specific to authors and readers who are more interested in the behind the scenes of writing. Today, I wanted to talk about slow starts to books. This topic came up as I'm working on one of the final edit versions of my next upcoming release on Neurodiverse. Neurodiverse is a book that has a slow start. And I knew that. I actually created it that way based upon feedback I had received from my other two books. So I, at least up to this point, have had autistic main characters, and I kind of have written them specifically for autistic readers because there aren't books out there written for autistic readers. However, as an author, I have learned that even when you write towards a specific group, all sorts of people are going to pick up your book. And so I'm losing people that I think could benefit from understanding what it's like to actually have an authentic autistic voice. And when I say authentic autistic voice, I don't mean exclusive. It's my voice as an author is only one voice, and autism is a very, very diverse subgroup with a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, and it's important that we have a lot of different backgrounds. I bring in a lot of aspects of LGBTQ and genderqueer into my books because, you know, that's the background that I have, but we need to have more autistic authors so we can bring in more racial diversity. We can just bring in more diversity in general into an autism authentic voice. But what we have up until this point is neurotypical writers writing what they think is an authentic autistic voice and then just not labeling it as such. I've been very vocal about this. I will continue to be vocal about this. And so I found that I was missing an opportunity to kind of explain my characters more and their thought process. So in my current work in progress, my main character, their name is Jupiter. They are non-binary and autistic. And I set the novel up as a way of showcasing who they are before I showcase what happens in the novel. And I think specifically for Neurodiverse, this was extremely important because the entire point of Neurodiverse is neurodiversity, is this conflict between the neurotypical expectation and being autistic, and kind of like, wait, why aren't we allowed space to be who we are? And when we create that space, why do neurotypical people feel threatened by it? And that's the point of Neurodiverse. That's why it was written. It is a science fiction novel, contemporary science fiction, or near future science fiction. But that's really what was the inspiration behind it. But in order for me to get there, I wanted to make sure I'm bringing neurotypical readers along with me, and cis readers as well, because there's a lot of conflict between being neurodiverse. I live in a in California, in Southern California, which is a very liberal area, and so a lot of people will think, oh, well, that means that it should be easy being non-binary, but it's not easy being non-binary here. And that's the sad thing. Like, it's easier being non-binary here. Like, it's possible to legally be non-binary here, to exist, but to take up space and to be who you authentically are, there's a lot of pushback even in this liberal space. And I wanted to show that also. So like a lot of the experience in the books are based off of personal experience, although the main character is very different from me, and so how they handle those experiences are very different. But the crux of what happens in the story is based off of real experiences. And but I had to get buy-in from the reader, and I needed to do that by building up who Jupiter is as a person and how Jupiter is treated. And so the book itself does start slow, and I had a lot of feedback back from my beta readers on that. But then they, in addition to the it starts slow feedback, they also were giving me comments about who the character is and like an understanding of the character that I think isn't necessarily created with my first two books, where I specifically was writing toward autistic characters and was expecting neurotypical readers to just like accept that. And while I hope that they still do, I realize that's not going to happen. That was very idealistic of me. So when I got back the feedback, I had a lot of soul searching as an author of what do I do. Some of the feedback said that the inciting incident needs to happen at the beginning of the novel. And I'm pushing back on that. It doesn't. It does not need to happen at the beginning of the novel. It does not need to be the first thing in a novel. Now, you don't want to lose your readers. You don't want them to pick up a book and think, wow, this is so boring, I don't want to continue. But there's times where it is important that that inciting incident isn't the first thing. And in Neurodiverse, I strongly feel that that's the case. Because we need this build-up in order for the inciting incident to be more realistic. Because it's traumatic. And it is so contrary to a neurotypical cis person's experience that it is non-believable until it's put in context. And that's where part of Neurodiverse came from. Is this need to talk about how people are actually treating trans and non-binary individuals in liberal spaces. But in order to get that to be believable and for it to build up, it needed to be a slower start. Sometimes there is value to pushing off the inciting incident until you have the basis for that inciting incident to make sense. I did not come at this conclusion by myself. I worked through it with a lot of different writing groups that I belong to, getting a lot of different feedback, because I don't think I know all the answers. And I wanted to get perspective for how to best proceed, because I want Neurodiverse to be the best novel that it can be. I did end up trimming out a chapter, because looking through it, it was like, okay, yeah, I know what I was trying to do with this, but I had already made that point. And so I did take out an entire chapter. And I think that will definitely help between this slow start and but also having the context for the inciting incident. So there's definitely this balancing act. I do think that if you are going to push back the action, that there does definitely need to be a solid reason behind it. I did have people reread through it specifically for this context to see, their take on it. Because writers can't work alone in isolation. We need the community of each other, and I'm so grateful that I have so many writers that have a community. So I have this community. Because when we push our books out, they're not on their own. They are being read by other individuals. So it's not a standalone. As an author, though, I do think I have the final call of what needs to happen. And I made that, this compromise between the two. And it's not a compromise. This realization of, okay, what do I actually need to do for build-up and what actually can be taken out. And I left probably more in than I had originally thought I was going to. I was thinking about cutting all of it and then realizing that I couldn't. So what are your thoughts on inciting incidents? When do you think they need to happen in a story? What are some really great examples that you have of stories that have a slower start before they get to their inciting incident? And just like, let's continue the conversation down in the comments below. I would love all of your feedback. Anything that you are working through in your own writing, and any topics you would like me to approach for different or future writing corners. Let me know that as well. Make sure you're following me and hit the bell notification so that you can get notified of upcoming videos. I'm still a very growing channel, and every subscriber really helps me out a lot, so I appreciate you doing that. And as always, keep writing, keep reading, and until next time.